During the night, in a residential area of the United States, Johnny wakes up from a huge nightmare in which he sees his friend Kitty being attacked by a bizarre lake monster. After getting up, the young man prepares his suitcases and goes to meet his friends, who together begin their journey to celebrate having finally graduated with this. The group arrives at the gate of a rural area, which is often visited by young people from the city, so that they can swim and navigate one of the largest lakes in the region. Excited about all the fun things they're about to do, the youngsters take their belongings out of the vehicle and walk down to the river while making various funny recordings about their friends. Along the way, Zeke, the group's cameraman, begins to introduce each of his friends, describing what each one intends to do with their future. Now that they have unloaded all their luggage, the members of the group remove the tarpaulin from a rowing boat and join forces to carry it to the local lake. Concerned for Kitty's well-being after everything he witnessed in his nightmare, Johnny decides to give the girl his protective necklace, saying that she must wear it to be safe. However, the young woman ends up snubbing the young man's gift, and says that if she really needs to put it on, she'll do it when they're sitting around the campfire at night. Disappointed, Johnny goes to the luggage so he can get his backpack, and is surprised by Mr. Parks, who reveals that he is fixing the engine of one of his boats. When he finds out that the young people intend to go to the middle of the lake, the old man tries to warn the young man, saying that even if they don't intend to swim, they are making a big mistake by getting so close. He explained that even if the university student is fully aware of what is going on in that place, he must ensure that his friends are also aware of the risk they are taking. Despite this, Johnny tells him that he will continue with his vacation plans, and after assuring him that he will return later to check that the kids are okay, Mr. Park orders the university student to continue wearing his necklace so that he doesn't have any problems. With that, all the young people gather in the rowboat and set off towards the center of the lake. During the trip, Johnny notices a strange movement in the water, and Matt tells him that it's time for them to go for a group swim, accompanied by Kitty and Deborah. Concerned, the young man tells his friends that they definitely shouldn't go in the water, but none of the youngsters listen to him, and they start swimming quietly around the site, wanting to have some fun. Simon decides to light one of his party firecrackers, generating an extremely loud noise and leaving Johnny increasingly worried. Sometime later, while drinking and chatting around the boat, the young people begin to be pushed underwater, and discover that it was Matt who was trying to scare them. After consuming some more of his drinks, he returns to the center of the lake, where he chats with Kitty and Deborah as normal. At that moment, the boat starts to be pushed again, and as Johnny looks at the water, he notices a huge creature moving around them, and he is shocked. While having fun, Kitty notices something wrong, and after realizing that they are being called by their friends, the trio decide to swim back to the dinghy as quickly as possible. Now that they are reunited, the young people use their oars to strike the water around them, trying desperately to reach the unknown creature. Thanks to this, Simon ends up losing one of the oars, and while trying to retrieve it, Deborah is surprised by a giant macabre fish, which narrowly misses devouring her. As she is pulled back onto the boat, the girl realizes that she has a wound on her arm, and because she has been hit in one of her main arteries, she is rapidly losing strength. Trying to keep control of the situation, Deborah orders her friends to retrieve the oar, otherwise they will all be eliminated in that place. Matt tries to reach out and grab the object, but at that moment, the monster appears again, using its giant teeth to destroy the oar. At this point, Zeke begins to call out to his friends, who realize that Deborah hasn't survived her injuries. To prevent the monster from continuing to circle the boat, Matt moves one of the deceased young woman's arms so that the creature no longer feels a drop of blood around it. Wanting to get away from the place, Simon starts rowing towards dry land, but the movement ends up attracting the giant fish, which hits the boat once again. Outraged, the young man uses the object to attack the animal, causing the paddle to get stuck in its body and the monster to be even easier to spot. Noticing that Johnny doesn't seem to be distressed, Matt questions him, and Simon orders the young man to explain why he didn't warn any of his friends about the demon fish, otherwise he'll throw him into the water. The young man says that he couldn't believe that his companions intended to swim in the lake, and that he would never have wanted any of this to happen. Trying to find a way out of the ambush, Zeke reveals that the creature is looking for blood, so they can use Deborah's body as bait. This way, everyone will have a time out during the creature's distraction, allowing them to use their hands to row to dry land as quickly as possible. After saying goodbye to their friend, the young people release the body into the lake, and in a few seconds, Deborah is pulled underwater. Quickly, the group starts rowing with all their might, without even noticing that Zeke isn't helping them, as he prefers to record the whole situation with his wrist camera. Before they can get very far, the young man realizes that the fish has finished its feast and is coming towards them. So Matt asks his friends to try to get some of the water out of the boat, while he uses the lid of his cooler as a makeshift paddle. The problem is that all the movement ends up attracting the monster, which manages to swallow the object, trapping the youngsters once again. Realizing the creature's voracious hunger, Zeke proposes that the group throw all their food into the lake so that they can distract it and try to get closer and closer to the shore. However, nothing seems to work completely, and the university students become increasingly desperate about the situation. Soon after, Zeke says that the only strategy that can save the group's lives is if one more of them is used as bait, and suggests that the group hold a vote to choose the sacrifice. Zeke also explains that so that they can make the best possible decision, they can list the reasons why they want to stay on the boat. The problem is that this only ends up causing the young people to argue more and more, and during the argument, the giant fish starts attacking the boat once again. As they don't have much time to decide, Matt orders everyone to stop arguing, and says they should hold the vote as soon as possible. Thanks to their great levels of strength, Simon and Matt explain that they need to stay in the boat so that they can row quickly to dry land. Terrified, Kitty says that she will be a successful singer, who will inspire millions of people around the world, and for that reason, she can't be eliminated from that place. Taking advantage of Johnny's complete silence, Zeke scolds him and accuses him of being responsible for Deborah's perishment. In addition, the young man says that he will be a great film director, and that his survival is much more valuable and important than any other member of the ship. With that, Matt starts the vote, and Johnny is chosen by Simon and Zeke. At the same time, Kitty decides that she will vote for Zeke to support Johnny, and asks her boyfriend to do the same. However, Matt says that the young man has a high chance of survival, as he is much stronger than the cameraman, so he will vote for him. Disgusted by the group's decision, Johnny stands up and, after promising that he will return to save Kitty, quickly dives into the water. After a few seconds, the group realizes that the young man is already on the other side of the lake, and they start paddling desperately with their hands. During the escape, Johnny decides to dive to escape the attacks, and after a few seconds, the trio ends up losing sight of the young man. As they row across the lake, Zeke and Kitty start arguing about the decision that has been made, and Simon orders his friends to stop talking and get back to helping them move the boat before they are devoured by the creature. The problem is that the arguments keep coming up, causing the lake monster to be attracted and start attacking his prey again. Trying to find something to confront the animal with, they search the boat for improvised weapons, and Kitty finds a bag of fireworks quickly. The youngsters start firing all their flares at the creature, which ends up being frightened by the noise and retreating into the depths of the lake. Now that they have a few seconds to think of another strategy, and noticing that they are sinking faster and faster, Simon says that they will need another distraction. In a panic, Zeke tells them that there must be another way to escape from the place, but when they see the giant beast approaching once again, the young people become desperate and think about sacrificing the young man. Simon says they don't have another second to think of an alternative, and tries to convince his friends to throw the young man into the lake. Desperate, Zeke tells them that he has recordings of everything that has happened so far, so that they will all be blamed for his perishment when they return to the city. Realizing that his arguments aren't working, the young man decides to reveal that Matt is being cheated on by his girlfriend, and explains that he has several records of Simon going out with Kitty around his college. Upon hearing this, all the members of the group are completely stunned, while the young man describes all the times he was able to record the betrayals. Furious at Zeke's accusations, Simon punches him in the face and asks his brother to help him throw him off the boat. As he begs for his life, the cameraman says that Kitty should be the chosen bait, as she is not strong enough to row and has committed a huge betrayal. Despite this, Matt decides to start the vote, and after a unanimous decision, Zeke is thrown out of the boat. Desperate to realize that he is about to be devoured, the young man tries to climb back up, but is stopped by Simon, who hits him with several kicks. Trying to intimidate the monster, the man starts shouting, declaring that he is recording everything that is happening. However, the threats have no effect and Zeke is devoured by the animal, which, after feeding, leaves only his arm with the recording camera behind. A few meters away, Johnny wakes up at the edge of the lake and realizes that the young people are still trapped there. Soon afterwards, he finds a motorboat abandoned on the coast and considers using it to rescue them. As they row towards dry land, Matt begins to reminisce about the good times he had with Zeke, saying that he always spotted the young man recording anything, even doing various interviews. Realizing that his brother is shaken, Simon tries to console him and says that they only did what was necessary for them to survive. Hearing this, Matt comes to his senses, and after pulling himself together, he begins to take the weight off the boat, throwing away all the backpacks that don't contain important items. Just then, the brothers realize that Johnny had left his backpack on the boat, and are excited to find a survival hatchet. While rummaging through the bag, Matt orders Simon to continue rowing the boat, and by using the thermal box as a tool, he ends up attracting the monster's attention. Angry, the young man tries to prevent the object from being taken, but to no avail, and now that he is close to his prey again, the creature attacks the group again. As a result, the ship begins to collapse more and more, and in order to scare it away, Kitty uses Johnny's hatchet and strikes the creature's head repeatedly. Thanks to this, the aquatic monster ends up retreating, and the youngsters celebrate having finally found a way to scare the creature. Soon afterwards, Kitty notices a boat approaching in the distance, and the group realizes that it is in fact Johnny, who has returned so that he can rescue his friends. At the same time, Simon approaches Matt and asks his brother to try to distract the young man while he prepares to eliminate him with his hatchet. However, the young man says he won't allow them on his boat, since he was thrown off when they were together. So Johnny says that all he can offer is for the trio to be winched to dry land by his rope, otherwise he will leave so that he can contact the authorities. Trying to calm the situation, Matt accepts the young man's proposal and asks him to throw the rope so that they can escape together. Although he is reluctant to help the survivors, Johnny decides to rescue them and tries to throw the rope towards them. After a few attempts, the trio finally managed to grab the object, but before they could get their group out of the place, the young man was attacked by the creature, causing him to lose his balance and fall to the ground. As a result, the engine causes the boat to start spinning, and when he tries to get up, Johnny is grabbed by the rope, which starts to stop him breathing, leaving the young man completely desperate. Realizing that her friend may be about to lose his life, Kitty takes her hatchet and tries to cut the rope so that she can save the young man's life. However, Simon doesn't want this to happen and tries to stop the girl, saying that he will eliminate her if she tries to rescue Johnny. With his neck trapped, the young man ends up losing consciousness, allowing the trio to pull the boat closer. The problem is that Simon and Matt end up pulling harder than necessary, causing them to collide and the engine of one of the boats to capsize. Thanks to this, the group loses sight of Johnny, who sinks in a few seconds. At the same time, part of the rope is caught by the engine's propellers, which end up being completely destroyed. This situation only makes Simon more and more frightened, and the young man begins to despair. Sometime later, Matt realizes that the creature is returning so that it can devour Johnny's body, and asks the group to prepare to flee as soon as they get the chance. What they didn't realize was that the young man seems to be invisible to the monster, which just walks past him as if he were nothing, leaving the youngsters extremely confused. Realizing that they will have to find a way to get out of there on their own, Simon takes Johnny's hatchet and uses it to break the boat's seats. With that, the trio manage to get a new pair of improvised oars and start rowing towards dry land once again. Along the way, Matt begins to question his brother, saying that he wants to know why they have betrayed his trust for all these years. Feeling irritated at getting no response, the young man refuses to continue rowing, which terrifies Kitty. Simon explains that one more vote must be taken, and after the distraction is thrown into the water, they can try to swim as fast as possible to reach the edge of the lake. In addition, the young man also claims that Kitty has decided to betray his brother countless times, and upon hearing this, Matt becomes furious, causing the youngsters to start pushing each other around the boat. Desperate, the girl notices the hooded fish approaching and tells them that they will be sunk if they continue to fight each other. Upon hearing Kitty's warnings, the brothers stop the fight, and Simon revealed that she intended to leave there by his side, as she knew that the young man would become someone successful in his career. With no reason left to protect the girl, Matt decides to support the young man and vote for his girlfriend. Realizing that her two boyfriends have turned against her, Kitty says that she doesn't regret anything she's done in the past, and upon hearing this, Matt is incredulous and throws her into the lake. Panicked, she tries to climb back onto the boat, but is stopped by Simon, who hits her hands with his hatchet. So Kitty holds her breath and dives underwater, out of sight of the survivors. Concerned, Simon begins to question Matt, asking if they should try to swim to dry land, but the young man ignores him and orders him to stop talking immediately. Annoyed by his brother's behavior, Simon pretends to obey him and tries to make a surprise attack with his hatchet. However, Matt dodges the blow, and after disarming him, he performs a combat maneuver, managing to immobilize the young man. The problem is that Simon continues to resist and throws himself backwards to try to free himself, causing him to plunge into the water. Seeing that his brother is seriously injured by the fall, the university student decides to dive in to rescue him, trying to swim to dry land as quickly as possible. Realizing that the monster is getting closer and closer, Simon declares to Matt that he will have the last vote of the group, and pushes his brother towards the creature. Before he could even react, the survivor was swallowed by the giant animal, which began to devour him. Taking advantage of the distraction, Simon begins to flee in desperation, while Matt is finished off by the vicious fish. In the center of the lake, the boat remains stationary on the surface, and Kitty, who had hidden in the depths, manages to reach the boat that has been capsized by the monster. At that moment, she realizes that Johnny is right next to her, but instead of rescuing him, the young woman just steals his protective necklace and pushes the young man's body away. In a few seconds, the demonic fish approaches the university student, and after capturing its prey with its mouth, it leaves once again. With that, Kitty remembers what her friend had explained to her, and decides to dive in, so that she can swim towards the edge. A few minutes later, the young woman finally makes it to dry land and is found by Simon, who is confused to realize that the girl is still alive and wonders if the whole situation was orchestrated by Johnny. Terrified, Kitty tries to get away from the young man, saying that she saw everything he did to his own brother while they were being attacked by the creature. Trying to calm her down, Simon tells her that he has always been in love with her and asks her to forgive him for everything he has done so that they can be happy again. Although reluctant, Kitty tries to pretend that she believes the young man's words, because she knows that she will be easily eliminated if she tries to contradict him. The couple end up kissing, but at that moment, Simon uses Johnny's necklace to hit the young woman in the neck, who desperately tries to get away. However, Kitty can't get far enough away, and after being captured, the young woman is eliminated by her boyfriend, who says she will never leave that place again. Just then, a light goes on behind Simon, who is surprised by Mr. Park, and noticing that the young man is the only youngster to have escaped the attack, he asks where Johnny is. Trying to fool the old man, the survivor tells him that he has been through extremely disturbing situations, and despite having tried everything, he ended up losing his friends and his brother. Fed up with the young man's lies, the boatman explains that Johnny is a very kind young man, and tells him that the young man is the grandson of one of his best friends, whom he has known since childhood. Soon after, Mr. Park claims to know everything that happened in the middle of the lake, and reveals that he found Zeke's recording camera. Realizing that his actions have been caught by the old man, the young man becomes desperate and tries to explain himself so that he won't be denounced. The boatman says that Simon's actions were extremely evil, since he knew he could be saved by his father, who has enormous influence in the town, so Mr. Park suggests that the survivor return to the center of the lake, so that he can test his faith and his luck once again. Desperate, Simon refuses to return to the monster's territory, and in order to persuade him politely, the old man starts shooting in his direction. As a result, one of the shots hits the young man's leg, and he starts screaming for help. Because of the noise, the lake monster is quickly drawn to the edge, causing the traitor to be attacked. Panicked, Simon tries to run towards Mr. Park, but is quickly stopped by the creature, which pulls him into the water and finishes him off in a few seconds. Now that he has taken his revenge on Johnny, the boatman leaves, leaving behind the necklace he had given his friend. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.